What if gold was never meant to be money? Some of history's greatest empires banned it entirely, and the reasons will challenge everything you think you know about wealth, power, and the system controlling your life today.
What is the truth about why gold was God's money and why we ultimately lost it? The answer defies everything modern economics has taught us about wealth, power, and human greed.
For centuries, we've been told gold is the ultimate symbol of wealth and trade. But history hides a much darker, more mystical reality. Gold wasn't born as money. It was born as a sacred, unbreakable contract.
Before it was reduced to mere currency in the pockets of merchants, how did the earliest ancient civilizations actually view this glittering, indestructible metal?
Long before coins existed, the ancient Egyptians worshipped gold as the literal flesh of the gods. Its incorruptible nature, never rusting, never tarnishing, linked it directly to the eternal sun god Ra. It was a spiritual element, entirely removed from commerce.
If gold was considered a sacred extension of the gods, exactly when did this holy metal transform into a mundane tool for everyday transactions?
Around 600 BCE, civilizations like the Lydians began stamping gold into uniform coins, creating the world's first standardized currency. Suddenly, the flesh of the gods was being traded in dusty markets for livestock, weapons, and human labor.
As coinage spread rapidly across the globe, did any major empires actively resist the temptation to turn their sacred gold into spendable money?
Yes, the Inca Empire built a sprawling, highly advanced civilization of 12 million people entirely without money. They revered gold purely as kori, the sweat of the sun. To them, using gold to buy earthly goods was an unthinkable blasphemy.
While the rest of the Mediterranean eagerly embraced wealth, which legendary Western power deliberately banned gold currency to fiercely protect its society?
Ancient Sparta. In the 8th century BCE, the Spartan lawgiver Lycurgus outlawed all gold and silver currency. Instead, he forced citizens to use massive, heavy iron rods that had been quenched in vinegar to utterly destroy their scrap value.
Why would a military superpower go to such extreme lengths to make its own money physically worthless and incredibly difficult to carry?
By making currency impossibly heavy, Lycurgus intentionally made wealth a physical impossibility. Sparta realized early on that monetized gold breeds inequality, corruption, and societal decay. They banned it to keep their empire invincible and their citizens focused on duty.
As empires rose and fell, how did gold evolve from a simple trading tool into an unshakable, mathematically perfect economic standard in the medieval world?
In 696 CE, Islamic Sharia law established what might be the ultimate inflation hedge. It permanently tied the mandatory charitable tax, zakat, to a specific weight, exactly 85 grams of pure gold, ensuring wealth retained its purchasing power across generations.
When the temptation of endless power takes hold, what happens when empires decide to break this sacred mathematical peg to the gold standard?
Disaster strikes. The Roman Empire's collapse was accelerated by the denarius deception. Beginning in 64 AD, Emperor Nero secretly began melting down silver coins and mixing them with cheap base metals to silently fund his endless, sprawling wars.
As the Roman currency lost its value day by day, who actually bore the brunt of this catastrophic, government-engineered financial collapse?
The middle class was utterly wiped out by the increasingly worthless silver coins. Meanwhile, the patrician elite insulated themselves from the collapse by hoarding the solidus, a heavy coin made of pure, unadulterated gold, perfectly preserving their immense wealth.
When the industrial age arrived, did modern governments learn from the catastrophic failure of Roman currency, or did they arrogantly repeat the exact same fatal mistake?
Absolutely not. In the aftermath of World War I, Weimar Germany abandoned sound money to fund massive, unpayable wartime deficits. They turned on the printing presses, flooding the nation with millions of unbacked paper notes.
Just how dystopian did Weimar Germany's hyperinflation actually become when the government completely severed its currency from the reality of gold?
In January 1923, a loaf of bread cost 250 marks. By November,
That same loaf skyrocketed to 200 billion marks. The paper money became so thoroughly worthless that citizens literally burned stacks of cash in their stoves because it was cheaper than firewood.
If gold had proven itself as the ultimate protector of wealth, why did modern economists begin to ruthlessly attack the very concept of gold money?
Influential figures like John Maynard Keynes dismissed the gold standard as a barbarous relic. Because gold cannot be printed out of thin air, it mathematically restricted governments from endless deficit spending. To gain absolute financial control, the state had to eliminate gold entirely.
How did the United States government, a nation built on liberty, forcibly stripped the ultimate financial protector from the hands of its own citizens?
In 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt issued Executive Order 6102. Overnight, it became a criminal offense for Americans to privately own gold. Citizens were threatened with 10 years in a federal penitentiary and a massive $10,000 fine if they didn't surrender their wealth.
After decades of government confiscation and economic manipulation, what was the final fatal blow to gold's thousands of years of reign as the world's money?
The 1971 Nixon shock. President Richard Nixon temporarily suspended the convertibility of the U.S. dollar into gold. That temporary measure became permanent, plunging the entire globe into an unprecedented, dangerous experiment with purely unbacked fiat currency. So, after thousands of years of worship, bans, confiscations, and broken promises, what is the ultimate truth about gold, its history, and our current financial system? Despite its modern reputation as the ultimate currency, some of history's most powerful empires, including ancient Sparta and the 12 million strong Inca civilization, deliberately banned gold as money to prevent societal corruption. For millennia, gold was not a transactional tool, but a spiritual contract, revered as the flesh of the gods in Egypt and a divine mandate in Judeo-Christian and Islamic traditions. When governments broke this sacred peg to fund endless wars and deficits, the results were catastrophic, from the hyperinflationary collapse of Rome to the dystopian wheelbarrows of Weimar Germany. Today, as the U.S. dollar has lost over 85% of its purchasing power since the 1971 Nixon shock, the world remains trapped in an unprecedented fiat experiment, driving a modern resurgence in gold as the ultimate hedge against sovereign default. Where does this leave us today, in a modern world addicted to endless money printing and trapped in a cycle of silent currency debasement? We are living through the Cantillon effect, where printing fiat currency mathematically enriches central bank insiders first while secretly draining the working class. As our paper money continues to lose its purchasing power, gold is quietly reclaiming its ancient throne, not just as money, but as our final sanctuary.